welcome back to my channel. My name is Jade Shinyu and I help people reclaim back their power physically, mentally and spiritually. Now today I'm going to be talking about quite a triggering, weird topic that is kind of like taking the red pill after the red pill. It's like the second red pill when awakening to certain truths. This one in particular, quite an uncomfortable truth within the Matrix. So this is basically exposing soulless beings. This is exposing people who basically aren't what you think they are. They are pretty much very similar to what you see in video games. They're pretty much NPCs, non-playing characters, right? So in order to really grasp this concept, I will go into the signs of recognizing one so you can see for yourself. However, before that, it's important to understand the concept of reality. Otherwise, if you don't, this will just, you won't understand it. So our reality is not what people realize. It's all pretty much an illusion. It's a dream. It's a dream world. It's pretty much a simulation, like a cosmic simulation, a game almost. And there's certain rules within this game and there's certain things that have been corrupted within the game. And yeah, there's a lot going on within the game. And if you can understand that there's only certain souls that are playing the game. So it's like a multiplayer game, this earth, this reality that you are in, that your consciousness is hooked up to. So it's very similar to the movie The Matrix, where your consciousness is hooked up to a particular reality that you are experiencing. So you're experiencing this reality with other souls. However, there's not many souls that are actually here. And this is why people who have a genuine spiritual awakening, when you wake up from the dream, you become lucid within this reality, you feel very lonely. And it's because you are. It's because most of the time you are alone. Because most people that you see and interact with, even friends, family, it doesn't matter who they aren't really alive in the way that you think they are. They're merely just mirrors and perceptions of your reality going around within the game. And this is a very deep concept that many people can't rack their brains around. However, so many scientists have actually talked about this. And so many channelers and even spiritual gurus, of course, have exposed this and come to realize this. I myself have known about this for many years because once I finally woke up to this truth, it was very liberating. At first I was like, whoa, it kind of hit me and I was like, oh my God. But then once I really thought about it and digested it and then put the dots together, it made so much sense because I had experienced this feeling of like nothing feels real anymore to such a deep degree, including people as well. So I'm going to share the 5 signs of NPC, soulless being, backdrop people, even Dolores Cannon, if you know about her, who hypnotized and done many past life regressions and regressions on thousands of people, came to know this truth through alien beings exposing it. So she would call them the backdrop people, but there's many people who have, come to realize this. And these are the signs. And it's important to note that you don't let your ego get in the way of this. So this isn't an egotistical thing. This isn't solipsism where you think you're better than everyone else and you're some supreme God. You know what I mean? It's not like that. It's literally just an understanding of reality, metaphysics. It's an understanding of what realm you're actually in, what your consciousness is experiencing. So it's not saying that you're better than everyone else. Because if you think someone is a soulless being, it doesn't mean that you can be abusive, treat him like shit, because no, the laws of karma still apply. The laws of cause and effect still apply. People will mirror that back to you. So these beings aren't to be treated badly. However, it's important to note what they truly are because they can treat you badly. So they can, a lot of the time, be very energetic vampires, parasitic, drag you down. Similar to the video I made about how light workers are hunted by demonic entities, these beings can at times be like that. So I'll speak about that later on. So the first sign of recognizing a soulless being is they don't question reality. They don't seek truth. So they're very much just on autopilot. They're very much just living through their ego. And a lot of the time, you know, people at the beginning of their spiritual journey will just see how, oh, everyone's just asleep, operating on their ego, but it's deeper than that. It's because that is literally all they're programmed to be. That is literally all they're programmed to do. So it's like they only have a certain amount of responses. They only have a certain limit to their consciousness level. So even if they can sometimes interact with you and feel, you know, about deep truths or whatever, most of the time it's like they just don't care. They'll have this very blasé, you know, energy and attitude. It's like it's not their main priority. However, with people who are awake, who come to their own awakening, you know, people with true souls, you probably would have been someone who always questions reality. You'd be someone who was like, what is the purpose of life? What are humans? Who are we? What are aliens? You know, you would have had all these questions about reality, but everyone around you was pretty much just would think you're mad, would think you're crazy just for like questioning things. It's kind of like the Truman Show. So they'll kind of keep you in check and make you feel like you're mental for trying to expand your own consciousness. So because they don't do that, they're pretty much like people like to call them sheeple. They just follow the crowd. They do as they're told because that's all they are programmed to be. That's all they're programmed to be capable of. So they will never really be able to have very deep discussions with you, or they'll just kind of pretend like they're interested, but they're just not. Like you may tell them something that you know is like life-changing or so incredible, and they'll just not really get it, or they won't see it. They won't understand it. They'll never be on that same page as you. So you'll always feel that kind of uncomfortable, you know, disconnect from them. You'll never feel connected fully because they just are not on that same wavelength. They are not on that frequency of a high consciousness. And this leads me to the second sign is they will have a very low frequency, meaning they will purely be operating from a state of ego, seeking pleasure, seeking status. They'll probably indulge in alcohol, meat, drugs, sex, porn, gambling, you name it. Everything that is like the Matrix pushes onto you. Everything that this Matrix enforces, glamorizes and tempts you with and tries to distract you with, these people will be all in on that, most of them. And this is why it's really important to disconnect from these types of people. You can still interact with them, but at the same time, you've got to have very healthy boundaries with them. And a lot of the time, you will have to completely disconnect from these types of people because they will continuously try to lure you into temptation. They'll continuously try to put onto you their way of living. They won't be someone who will push you to grow. They won't be someone who will push you to expand your own consciousness because they're purely living in the Matrix. They are addicted to social media. They are just living in that reality of bullshit, quite frankly, of just pleasure, ego, desire, dopamine. Like that is all they are designed for. And they do this and live this way because that's how they want you to be. This is what traps you into the Matrix and stalls your progress. It keeps you from progressing. So this is why, you know, energy is also contagious. So if you're living with people like that, or you spend a hell of a lot of energy and time with people on this sort of wavelength, it rubs off onto you. This is why, you know, you can somewhat be stable, but at the same time, you'll never reach your full potential if you're in the presence of people like this. If you're giving too much of your energy, especially if you're trying to wake them up, it will never happen. Trust me, it will never happen. I've been there, done that. I spent literally over a year straight with someone like this. And I gave him all the tools. I gave him all the knowledge. I pushed him to wake up. And it didn't matter how much I tried. It just never happened. It's physically impossible. So, you know, people have to wake up on their own. This is why you have to seek truth. People will only wake up if they question reality. If they're not seeking truth, if they're not questioning reality, and if they're not willing to put in the work, they will never grow. They will never wake up in a million years. Even if you are not, even if you are a soul, even if you're a real soul, you can act like a soulless being if you stunt your own growth. So this is a trap for your soul, basically, to be stuck in a low frequency, a low vibration. And this brings me to number 3, and this is that they can get puppeted by dark entities. So this again is shown in the Matrix, how Agent Smith can literally jump into anyone in the Matrix and shapeshift into them. It's pretty much the same thing. So because these beings are kind of like empty vessels, they can have things jump in and out of them. They can literally have things puppet them. They'll know what to say through you because they are an empty vessel. So basically what they do, especially when you grow and have an awakening, these people will dig their claws into you even more so to pull you back into the Matrix, because they will just have fun with you when you are literally on their level. So if you are basically in a low vibration, these beings won't really act up too much because you're not a threat, because they've got you where they want you. They've got you stunted. They've got your spirit suppressed. They've got your light suppressed. So they will not do much to trigger you. In fact, they'll do the opposite. They'll actually try to give you more pleasure. They'll try to keep you in that area of your consciousness or environment so you don't go anywhere. So you don't seek higher levels of consciousness, knowledge, and basically fulfill your soul mission. They'll prevent you from doing that at all costs. So a sinister thing that they'll do is they'll try to drag you down. They'll trick you by any means necessary. And the Matrix always knows your weaknesses. It knows what tempts you. It knows everything about you. And this is how they're able to get into you to keep you stuck in the Matrix. So they'll pull you down to stunt your spiritual growth. They will sabotage you. They will even cause you to self-sabotage. They'll sabotage you awakening your heart. They'll sabotage you activating your light. They'll sabotage you from purely activating your power. Because once you really activate your light, you can't be controlled by the Matrix anymore. You will be a huge threat, because now you can help people. Now you can change your own reality to one that you want, because they don't want people to create heaven on earth. They don't want people to create joyful, loving realities of their own. Because with the elites, they trick you and put hexes onto you to create hell. They will make you live in a low vibration. They do everything in their power, using all this occultic magic and symbolism and people and being puppeted by dark entities to keep you suppressed from birth. So this is why it's really important to recognize this, to not fall for the tricks, to not allow your own ego to get the better of you, because soulless beings will always attack your ego. They will seduce your ego. They will basically know how to enlarge your ego even, because they won't call you out on things that will actually better yourself. They won't call you out on those things, ever. They will never recognize what you truly need to heal. They'll never recognize your own inner light and divinity. Growth is painful, you know, because most people will stay in their comfort zone around these toxic types of beings, because growth is painful. The spiritual path is not easy. And it's very tempting. And this is what tricks up a lot of light workers and people who have genuine souls, because they'll get stuck in that reality. They'll won't shift to a more positive timeline. They won't shift to a better reality. So be very cautious, because these entities are extremely cunning. They know what you want. They know what your ego desires. So they will do everything in their power to suppress and sabotage your spiritual path. So number 4 is they are extremely predictable and they glitch. So again, like I was saying before, these beings are very, very predictable. They only have certain amounts of responses. They literally also are like templates of each other. So you may actually notice people who look or sound or feel the same. Now, I can't say how many people that I have met that have similar faces, similar voices, attitudes, energy. They speak the same. It's like I'll literally meet like clones. They'll be like clones of each other. It's very bizarre. Even if they don't look alike, they'll just have the same energy. And I used to meet like hundreds and hundreds of people a lot when I used to be a tattoo artist. So I would be meeting people constantly all the time. And it was extremely rare that I would meet someone that actually stood out to me in the way of like their energy being different. Literally every single person that I would meet, because I had my spiritual awakening here, my first one years ago, whilst I was still tattooing. So I found it very weird and odd how literally everyone was like a clone. They all wanted the same shit. They all like believed the same lies. They all watched the same news, same TV shows, same music. Like everything that the mainstream promotes and pushes, they were all in on that, most of them. They would indulge in all of it. So they all had this same sort of template, and which made them very predictable. Most people that I would speak to, if I'd ask them a question, they'd say pretty much the same response most of the time. They would be very strange at times as well. So if you try to speak to someone from your authentic kind of higher frequency minds, when you try to say a very deep or you know, spiritual thing to them, it will catch them off guard. And a lot of the time they'll blank you. They literally won't know what to say, or they'll just change the subject. So I had very strange experiences whilst tattooing people. I'll get bored at times. So I would be, and at this time I was trying to wake people up because I didn't realize that they were actually soulless. I didn't know this truth yet. It was very, you know, early days. And I'd literally try and see how far I could push it with truths. So I would, you know, mention certain things that were like, you know, very taboo that normal people will never, ever think of or speak about. Or they just completely make a joke about it. That's another thing they do. So any like conspiracies, they'll like a lot of the time shun it, make a joke of it, or just not take it seriously. And I would do this a hell of a lot with people. And most of the time they just wouldn't even respond. It's like they didn't even hear me. So it's like your frequencies are so different. It's like they don't even hear you. Sometimes you can text someone something and it's like they won't reply because it's like they can't even acknowledge it. It's very strange. And even physical glitches I've seen as well, more lately, weirdly. And I've even seen this on like videos online. But in first person, I've seen people glitching right in front of me. And I remember a really weird, funny thing I saw, that we were driving up this road and I literally saw a man so close to a hedge, like literally facing a hedge. And he was just stood there like a robot and not doing anything. And I'd never seen someone stood so still. And I've seen this a few times. I've seen people literally just like blanks, like they're not moving a muscle. It's like they look like they're not even breathing. So I've seen this about 3 times. And people just acting very bizarre as well. I can't remember all those stories, but they will literally glitch in front of you at times. And it can be quite amusing. And number 5 is, of course, you will just know. Like when you reach a certain awakening level, and again, it's not about being all like, oh, I'm better than you sort of thing, but there's different levels of consciousness that you will wake up to. The more you grow, the more you expand, the more you meditate, the more you look after yourself. And you'll just know, you'll feel it in your gut. So a lot of the time you'll recognize it through their eyes, because the eyes are the windows to the soul. And if you're on a low frequency, if you haven't had your spiritual awakening, you will not be able to have this ability yet, because you can fall in love with any set of pretty eyes. So, but when you wake up, it's like you'll just see most of the time there's nothing behind someone's eyes. And it's not just people who are creepy or whatever. They could be beautiful, but it's like, you just know, you can feel there's nothing in there. It's just a vessel. And because it's true. So you'll recognize it, but you'll feel it more so with their energy. You'll actually it's easier to spot someone who, it'll be more prevalent when you meet someone who does have a soul, because you'll recognize their eyes. Because a lot of the time, people who are in this game, souls, you would have met each other in past lives, because you would have been here for quite a long time, most of you. It is even said that there are only 144,000 souls on Earth, and that ain't much. So this is why with like twin flames, soulmates, when you first meet, it'll be like, whoa, like you'll recognize each other's eyes. You'll normally have similar eyes as well, but it's the energy, because it's like, wow, I've actually met someone who's alive. And for the first time, you'll feel like you're home. For the first time, you'll feel like a very powerful energy and bonds with that person. It'll be so strong compared to other people that you would have interacted with in the past, because you can't have that really strong bond with someone who is, of course, not even real, who is a soulless being. So when you do meet someone who does have a soul, it'll be like, wow, you don't feel lonely anymore. You won't feel like how you used to feel. It'll be like you've actually found someone from your true home, because you probably would have had other lives, even on different planets with them. That's how far like this shit goes. Like, this is a very, very deep topic that I will speak more on, because I feel like people are now becoming ready for it. They've gone past the kind of initial red pill. This is the second red pill. This is like the deep shit. But once you get over it, and once you really acknowledge it, it's very liberating. It will set your minds free, even more so. Because now you won't feel chained to people. You won't feel like an obligation to serve people that you know are just toxic. It'll basically make it easier to detach from people who just aren't good for you. Especially close friends or family or anything that you have, you know, that sort of tie with, that society makes you think that, oh, you got to be nice to them. But unfortunately, this is the way that the matrix keeps people suppressed, stuck, and just kept very, very low in vibration. It will stunt your spiritual path. And most importantly, you will no longer allow them to tempt you. You won't fall for them temptations anymore. Because a lot of these beings, they will always try to tempt you to drink, to party, to smoke drugs, to have sex even. They will do so many things to eat your energy, because they're energy vampires, a hell of a lot of them. They'll do everything to feed off your lights, to keep your consciousness low. So this is why it's very, very important to have this knowledge. It's very important to know and to set boundaries with these beings, these soulless beings. Otherwise, they will just feed off your lights, and you will never activate your true power if you allow them to constantly sabotage you. So I hope this video helps you. I know it's a bit of a weird one, but it's important to acknowledge. So if you want more help, I offer one-to-one guidance. So I will link that in the description box down below, as always, where I do oracle card readings, and they're very, very long and very in-depth. So I highly do recommend them if you are struggling and need some one-to-one guidance. I also have my Patreon that is now live and active and open, the Goddess Coven. So I'll also link that down below. So click the link to join. I have a few card readings on there, a meditation and some spell work on there. So again, it's for people who are ready to dive deeper into that side of things and need obviously more guidance as well. Please like, subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification bell so you'll be reminded of all my future uploads. Until next time, my loves, I'm sending you so much love, so much light. Ahimsa.